This is the autobiography written in 1972 by Dorothy Laidman, used to be Dorothy Berry. Born June the 27th, along with a twin sister Doris, to Hilda and Russell Berry at Philadelphia, USA. I have 4 other sisters besides my twin. We did not stay in the States very long and started our public school life in a small town called Marmora in northern Ontario. The public school years, I remember, were spent in a rented house at the corner of Queen and Duke Streets in Hamilton, across from Ryerson Public School. We finished grade 8 at Ryerson. Then my dad did not stay put for long. We started grade 9 at Westdale High, and just after Christmas we moved to Millgrove, where my dad rented the gas station on the corner. I believe it is still standing today. We finished grade 9 at Waterdown High, and as this was a war years, we left school at Easter to work on the farm of Bill and Dave McCammon. We moved to Grimsby and started grade 10 at Grimsby High School shortly after Christmas. We moved again. This time we rented a house on number 8 Highway near the old Hamilton Airport and Red Hill Creek. We finished grade 10 at Saltfleet High, again leaving school to work on the farm at Easter, this time at Cherry Beach. The war was still on when we moved to Fort Erie. After attending 4 high schools in 2 years, Doris and I did not want to go back. Our dad got us a job on July the 28th, 1942, at the Fleet Aircraft Limited, helping make airplanes. We worked for 3 years. At least Dad saved enough money to buy our farm on the Ferris Road just off Chippewa. My dad and Mom had just sold their home and moved to Cayuga. At 18, Doris and I decided to go to Park Business College. This was the year of the big snowstorm, 1945. What a winter to move to the country. Since we were paying $20 a month to go to school, there was no way for us to stay home. The roads were blocked for over a month, so we either had to walk or were lucky to meet up with somebody with a horse and sleigh. After a long, hard grind of 10 months, Doris got a job working in the Canada Crush Stone office. 2 weeks later, I was lucky enough to get a job in the same office, working together. We started going to Case United Church. We joined the Young People's Group where I met my husband, and on November the 3rd, 1945, Doris and I were bridesmaids for Dorothy Wiley and Jack Heslop, and he used to be the mayor of Mount Hope. On June 26, 1948, I married Ross Laidman, and we lived at Reitman's Corners for 5 years. In 1953, my husband built our house on a small piece of land he had received from his parents. My prayers were answered. I had hoped when we had children, they would not be uprooted like I was when I was a child.
Okay, Dorothy, that gives some of your background, and as I recall talking to you, you were the bright age of 15 when you went to work for Fleet Aircraft.
Right.
What did Fleet Aircraft do?
What did they do? Well, when we first got there and they took Dad on, he came home and said he could get all us girls in. And then when we started working in the woodworking department, we had a lot of fun. And these boys that used to see us together, they'd say, "Oh, do you see those 2 girls? I don't know what they're trying to do to us, but I'm quite sure we haven't fallen off the bandwagon." I think that's what they said. And they had a lot of fun about that. And other than that, let me see. We knew them all, but so long ago, I'm not bringing back too many. But we rode our bike. We lived on Garrison Road in a farmhouse. Well, first off, we lived in the Army. What do you call the house?
The wartime houses.
Wartime housing.
Right.
And we lived there. Well, that was pretty crowded with us 5 kids, because the other one got married. And so we moved there. And we just Dad bought us our bikes, we paid for them, and we would go in the back way to the fleet aircraft.
Now, you said you were in the woodworking department. What did you do?
What did we do?
Yes.
Okay, you got to help me. What do you call the tail section I worked on?
Okay, the stabilizers.
The stabilizers, and we had to buy a plane, and I've still got it, and it's about that big, and I lend it to my grandson now. He's doing tables for his girlfriend, but this plane I had to buy, and Doris bought one, and we had to straighten the stabilizers out with the
Okay.
plane,
Okay.
and then glue the little blocks in, all that tail section. But
Okay.
that was all we did.
So that part was made of wood,
All wood.
and it was most likely what they call Sitka spruce,
I think
a
so.
very stable wood. So you worked on that section. Now, when I looked in the magazines, the Plain Talk magazines, the company magazines, what clothing did the women wear in those days?
Oh, overalls.
Okay.
And they were a royal blue, I would say, and white. We had the two different kinds, two outfits, and then we always had to wear a bandana, so we didn't have anything happen.
Right.
And but this one picture we've got of all the woodworking people, I can pick myself out in the middle, and they said, "How can you do that, Dorothy? The twin sister can't, but I can do that."
You're the only one with the bandana, as I recall. Yes. Yes. So what other work that was the work that you did at Fleet. But what other type of work did Fleet do that you can recall?
Well, the brother-in-law, he got a job, and he was the boss where they welded, and my sister welded with him, was working, he was the boss, and they did worked on the wings of the, help me out,
Of the Lancaster.
of the Lancaster.
Of the Lancaster, the outer wings
The
of the Lancaster. Now, as I recall reading, she was a riveter, was she
Riveter,
not?
right.
Put the
right.
rivets on. And which one of your sisters is that?
That's Helen, and she lives in London, and her name now is Helen Young. Andy Young's her husband.
Okay. Now, you had a couple of other sisters that worked
Yes.
there, and what did they do?
No, that's the three of us.
Three of you.
But the other sister, she was, she had a little baby at that time, and she was home with the baby, and Merle worked. And my mom and dad, like Mom was home, and she looked after us 5 kids. Oh, we had 2 younger children too, don't forget, Dorothy, and they went to school down there.
Right. Okay.
And it was quite interesting, this being able to live in where the housing was.
Okay, now, later on, they had a woman's residence.
Right.
Down at Fort Erie. Did you live in that at all?
No, Mom and Dad didn't want us to. They wanted to stay home, us to stay home with them. But when we were finished working at the fleet, we went and got, the 3 of us, went and got a place where we could sleep, paid for that, and then we went and ate out at restaurants. And then our sister was still there, and her husband, and he was still working. So he would, they would feed us sometimes, you know, and we'd see this little boy that she had.
Looking at in the Plain Talk magazines, there seemed to be a lot of social activities going on for the people that worked in the plant. Can you describe some of them?
Well, we all bowled. We bowled and loved it, and we've got pictures in that book about that. And then we would, what would we do? Oh, I know, this Sammy Brewster, he was one of the hockey players, and so we followed him with his hockey. And
So there was a hockey league in the
yes.
area?
It wasn't nothing, I don't think it was anything to do with the fleet,
No.
but it was the league. And yes, and about 5 years ago, I was at Simcoe Fair, and I met up with him selling his taffy candy.
Oh, okay.
His family sold taffy candy, so that was quite nice to reminisce with.
Were there any picnics or that with the people?
Yes, I forgot about that.
And where would they hold them?
At that great big before you cross the bridge on Garrison Road.
Mm-hmm.
And we all got together and had races, and it was a real nice time for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were, a lot was there.
I looked at a picture in the magazine, and there was one lady that was held up in the arms of one of the masculine gentlemen.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yes.
But I didn't know who she was.
Was there quite a bit of romance going around down at the plant?
Yes, there was. And then they'd talk about the soldiers. But there was one young man. We weren't close, but he was about 23, and I was quite young. But he had a son that wasn't quite right. And so I would go visit him and his mom and this son, and then he was sent overseas and never came back. And I always felt for that family, but I never did see the men again.
Were there many of the men from the plant that joined up
Afterwards?
while you were there?
Yes, but I
Yeah.
didn't know too many, but it's in that fleet talk.
It's in the
Plain
fleet
talk.
plain talk.
Yeah.
Now, during the war, there seemed to be activities, bond sales, saving stamp drives. Do you recall any of them at all?
Yes, because I did a very good job, they told me. They sent me a, what do you call it?
There's a certificate in
Right.
here.
The
and-
certificate, because I did such a good
And maybe we can get a shot of that. You just hold it up like that, and Gord can get a shot of it. There.
And then, after that, there was something else that was going on that was big. But we never went to any of the dances. Well, we just weren't old enough, and Helen didn't want to go by herself, I don't think. But the bowling, we did have fun at bowling. And there we are, working on the 1000th Cornell.
Now, you were there. There was 1,000
They-
Cornells built at Fleet, and you were part of that. Was there a celebration at the time when they rolled
Yes.
off the number
Yes.
1,000? It's here in the book here.
Yep, hold that up too. And that was a real big day that day.
So it looks like do you recall it at all, the number of people that worked in the plant?
No, now that's something, see, when we were 15 and 16, we didn't know this would be important. And yet, I'm so glad I saved this book and put it together, because it's well, especially since you phoned me up, I'm really glad.
Now, I don't know if we can get a picture of the horizontal stabilizer there, and this is it down at the bottom. And I don't know if Gord can zoom in on it, but we do know, Dorothy, that you're
In the middle.
in the middle. In the middle there, we can see part of your head. And now, was there a racetrack in Fort Erie at that time?
Yes, there was. I think there was,
Yeah.
but we've been back too quite often.
Right.
And I think there was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that though.
So you were involved in the selling of the victory bonds, or let's say
Yes.
purchase them, and they did have war saving stamps in those
Yes,
days.
now, I can't remember, Mom maybe looked after the stamps, but there was something else they had.
Though there was, reading the book, there was, they took up a collection every week, and they called it Kid with the Can.
That's right.
And they spelt that K-A-N. Do you
Yeah.
recall
I remember them
those
going
days?
around, yes, and we all put money in.
Money in it?
And they collected a lot of money in
And
there.
where did the money go? Do you?
Well, now, I'm not positive, but I think, no, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I hate to say.
I recall looking in the books that it was given away in $100 donations to the Legions or to the
Okay.
Airmen's Fund, so,
Or the people that didn't have
or
much money.
the people that didn't have much
Money
money.
for food. I think that was
So
it.
everyone seemed to get behind the war effort.
Yes, definitely down there. Definitely. And it's so sad to see on the papers now, the fleet's closed. Did you read that?
I've read that.
I feel so sad because all those people are out without jobs, and that's the only big. But, I'll tell you a little story. Our first baby, when she was born, we bought a crib, a baby's crib, and you can't guess what, it was built at the fleet. Isn't that a thrill? And the whole 4 kids were in it.
I guess after the war, they took on
Yeah.
other type of manufacturing activities in order to keep going.
And she's 54, so that's a long time ago.
Did you recall any important people that might have come to Fleet to look at the airplanes?
Nope, no, I couldn't bring anything back like that.
Did they tell you very much about where the planes were going or who was using them?
They might have, but, and I didn't talk to Helen. She more than likely would have remembered, but I really didn't talk to her when she was in London. She sent me the pictures down, but I was hoping she sent me some information, but she didn't. She hadn't been feeling too good, and she's a little bit older.
As you were saying, at age 15, there's you only absorb so much of what is going on. Yeah.
But it was a busy place. It was a real busy place.
Now, did you go to Crystal Beach at all? Was that in
Yes,
operation then?
On the big boat, and it
Okay.
used to dock right on the main street in Fort Erie, but a lot of people didn't realize that.
Okay, so the boat then, where now it goes, or did go from Buffalo to Crystal Beach, in those days it used to stop at Fort Erie too. So
Right
there,
across the road.
it was very active then in Fort Erie, in Fort
Yeah.
Erie at that time.
Yeah. And then we had fun. We'd go to dance at the Crystal Ballroom. You ever been there?
No.
Oh, just a beautiful place. And this twin sister of mine, she was a great jitterbugger, and boy, she found this young man, at least he found her, the two of them, and oh, they would go around there, really having a good time. And he came up to see her at Mount Hope when we first came up.
Came up.
Yeah. That's the same one that I told you about the candy. Yeah.
So they were good days.
There were good days too, yes.
And it's nice to look back on them. And but the main thing that you built at Fort Erie at Fleet was the Cornells.
Was the Cornells. Now,
Yeah.
I can't remember any of the names of the other planes, but there were a lot of them, just like the ones I see here.
Sure.
I mean, I think you've got 4 other planes from down there.
We do. We definitely have a couple of Fleet Forts.
I thought so.
Yeah, and
That's-
Fleet Finch.
But what a surprise when we came here to Mount Hope and learnt that it was here. So we come up to visit quite often.
Now, I know in one of the magazines, we have a picture here of the Cornell. I don't know if I can find it while we're talking to get a picture for it on camera.
Show them this one. Tell them this is the Christmas one. Is that the Christmas one?
This is a Christmas
This is a Christmas one.
issue. You can hold that up.
Wishing all readers of Plain Talk a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that was December the 10th, 1943. I was awful glad I saved these.
Now, this one here gives a picture of the Cornell on the front, and it's for the Royal Norwegian Air Force. So a lot of the Cornells went to the Norwegian Air Force.
Okay.
And they trained here at the Island Airport, at the Island Airport in Toronto. So that's something.
Now, did you take that was planes built at Fleet?
This was planes built
That's
at
what I
Fleet.
thought.
And on the back here, it shows several of the Fleet aircraft, so you might just want to get a picture of that for the record. And here is one that shows a picture of some of the ferry pilots that flew the Cornells from the plant to the various air bases.
Now, we used to be able to see them sometimes. I don't know which ones, but we did. When they came like that, they usually waited for everybody to take a look at these women.
Now, I know from reading that those ladies were all part of the American Air Force.
These here?
The ladies that are
Okay.
there. So that kind of sums up your days at Fleet.
Yes, I said I can't really remember, and I've been working on this for what, 2 weeks? But I'm glad I had my book made up for you.
Yes, and this is a book that you have donated to the archives of the museum, and we appreciate that very much. And there was just a couple of other pages I wanted to show at the back of the book. And you were part of the social club at that time. There's a picture here of you and your sister Doris, and of course Russell Berry, your father, and an advertisement for a victory parade. And at the back here, there's a picture.
Oh, yeah.
There was your social badges, and I'm just fumbling through here. Right here, there's a picture
Oh,
of the
I know.
Cornell and a picture of you, and your membership badges to the Fleet Recreation Club.
And Helen sent them down from London.
Helen sent them down from London. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming in
Well, I enjoyed it.
and telling us a bit of your own history and your history at Fleet and your family's history at Fleet. And
Will they be surprised? Because nobody in the family knows it, only Ross and I, that I was coming up here today. And I'm glad he stayed home, or I might have been nervous.
appreciate it.
Thank you.